welcome back to the A. I'm Ryan, and we are going to make two different kinds of pasta. First, we're going to start with mushroom ragu. One of my favorite dishes. It's a vegetarian ragu that's made with a few different types of mushrooms. What we're going to focus on first is the knife cuts, then we'll show you how to make the pasta at home, and then we'll show you how to finish the dish all together. So let's jump right into the knife work. So we're going to take our onion and start with that. There's a few different ways to cut it. I like to take it across all the way, keeping my finger to hold it together as I go. And then I'm going to flip it 90 degrees and I'm going to cut it. You can cut it from the side and then cut along the top. Sometimes I find that I end up with more waste that way, so I'm going to cut it 90 degrees and then I'm just going to hold it together with my fingers as I cut them into nice little pieces. Notice I'm using one stroke to cut through the onion. If you find that you can't do that, that's okay. And then you're going to get to a certain point where you got to lay the whole thing down and finish cutting. There's going to be a few pieces that you've got to kind of trim up. We want to get them nice and uniform in size. Next we're going to cut our carrots to exactly the same size. Move that on over. So the carrots, I've taken this one, I've peeled it, and I've cut it in basically in half. This one we're going to stand it up on its edge, and we're going to cut nice planks. Once I get it to that point, I'm going to lay it down so it's a little safer to use, and then cut it into planks so that when we lay them together, we're going to end up with the same size as our onions. Once you've got them into nice uniform planks like this, you're going to put them together, lay them down on their side, and then you want to use the side of your knife to line them up, cut them into strips, and it helps if you leave your carrots out at room temperature for at least an hour. That way they're not cold and trying to bend on you. Turn them 90 degrees, and then cut them into little squares. As long as your carrots and onions are the same size, they're going to cook relatively the same. Biggest thing here is you want to make sure you don't have undercooked carrots and onions, but we're going to cook this ragu for pretty much an hour, so at the end of it, it's all going to be nice. So carrots and onions go together. Next, let's move on to our portobello mushroom. So I've got my portobello mushroom here. I'm going to snap the stem off, and that's just going to go off to the side, and then I'm going to clean these gills off. So I've got a nice metal spoon. I'm going to take the spoon, clean the gills off of it as best I can, and then we're going to cut it from there. If your mushrooms have a little bit of compost on them or a little bit of dirt, you just want to take a damp paper towel and wipe them off. You can rinse them underneath water as long as you dry them out afterwards. Just try not to soak something like a portobello in water itself. Alright, so I've got that clean. Cut that into strips. And all of our mushrooms we're going to add at the exact same time. So your portobellos you're going to cut into little rectangles. And then your shiitakes and creminis, which are just little baby portobellos anyways, those guys are going to get cut into similar sizes. So shiitakes get the stem taken off just like the portobellos, and you can actually just pull it off with your hands and then lay those together. We're just going to cut those into strips, about 1/4 inch in width. And you can put your onions and carrots together in a bowl, and you can put all your mushrooms together in a bowl. So these are a little slippery because we actually washed them off and dried them with a paper towel, but then same thing with your cremini. Cut like 2 or 3 pieces and then lay it on its side, and cut it again. Notice right towards the end I kind of rolled it down because it was starting to fall over anyway, so I want to be safe. I don't want to cut into my finger at all, so if the mushroom's getting away from you, just lay it on down. And then the last part that we're going to do is do some herb prep. So you can use dried herbs in this, but I prefer to use fresh herbs because it's a little bit more delicate flavor. If you use dried herbs, just use a little bit less. So you want to take your stem, the part that's in the ground, you want to start at the other end, the part that grows towards the sun. You want to grab that and strip it off, and then you end up with some really nice thyme leaves. Now, a little bit of stem in there is totally fine as long as it's delicate. Sometimes you have to run the opposite direction, but you don't want the thick woody stems. No matter how small you cut them, they're still just going to be kind of chewy at the end. So we got most of our herbs off, and then a lot of people I see just take their knife and just slam into the herbs. You're just going to damage them and bruise them. So what you really want to do is gather them together, and then you want to actually use your knife to slice as much as you can. It's kind of hard with tiny leaves, but it's something that if you move your knife back and forth and actually cut, you're going to end up with a better product that tastes good at the end. If you'll notice, if you just kind of run your knife over them and chop back and forth, you're going to end up with a brown product. So then I'm going to use the spine of my knife to bring it all back together, give it a little turn, and then I'm still moving my knife forward as I'm cutting, just to get it nice and fine. And then the last thing that we've got to work on is our parsley. So fresh parsley, for some reason, is something that people shy away from. I don't know why. But all you have to do is take the long stem that grows up towards the top and these other two stems, pull off those two stems together and just lay the leaves one on top of the other. And then once you've got all of those pulled and laid together, 4 or 5 sprigs worth, put all your leaves together, roll them up on the cutting board like this, not too tight that you damage it, but you want to roll it up so it's all together. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take your knife, and instead of just chopping down, you're actually going to slice away from yourself. Okay, so using my finger as a guide, I'm going to slice away. I don't chop my parsley too fine because I actually like to know when I've hit a piece of parsley. You'll see a lot of classic French technique is to cut it super fine, strain it out in a piece of cheesecloth, get all the liquid out of it. I like for mine to actually have some flavor. So I'm going to cut down to the stems. I'm going to keep those. I'll use those for a relish in a salad or something, but usually that's where I'll stop cutting mine. If you want it any finer, same thing we did with the thyme. Turn it 90 degrees, and then we're going to kind of pull it together and use our knife to chop it again. I'm not going to go back and forth over the top because that's just going to bruise it and make it brown.
You need to be very careful when making this mushroom ragu at home. It is highly addictive, and even meat eaters will request this regularly. So make sure you get the method down and internalize this recipe because it's going to be one that you make over and over again. The best part of this ragu is it's not just for this dish specifically, but it can be used as a layered filling for lasagna. You can bake it on top of chicken or even stuff it inside of a chicken breast before you sear it. And then one of the biggest favorites is stuffed shells. So buying jumbo shells, mixing it with a little bit of ricotta and some Parmesan and parsley, and then baking it all together. Now we're going to sweat our carrots and onions until they're tender. We're not going to get any color on them. We just want them to be cooked through. We're going to add in our white wine and marsala as those vegetables are tender, and then we're going to let that cook almost all the way out. We're going to add all of our mushrooms at one time. You're going to hear a difference as the moisture releases. It's going to go from sizzling to not making any noise, and then as the moisture cooks out, it's going to start sizzling again. Right as it starts to get a little dry, we're going to add in our thyme, and then we're going to season it with salt and pepper. We're going to add in our dried mushrooms that we've chopped up if you have them, and add in the liquid from them. And then we're going to add our water, bring it to a simmer, and then just let it cook until it's reached a really nice consistency, but it's not super dry. Thank you for joining us for this, and we are going to move on to our pasta video. If you already have pasta or you've already made pasta, go ahead and jump to video number 3 where we're going to finish the ragu up.